Okay. Hi, I'm Susan Cousino. This is the office hour for Oregon State University PDC-PRO Winter 2023. This is call number 6, and the next lesson due is assignment 6 on April 10th. Zoom recording.
I'm just empty slides right now, so it won't really.
Yeah, it's fine.
And then I was looking is on that first, the soil mapping overview. I saw on that we're in alluvium plain. Is that the farmland classification? It said there's the geology / rock type in the map I was looking at, but I'm not sure where to.
I don't know, an alluvial plain. So that's kind of like that's the location, the relative location in the landscape. So
that's not
that means you're gonna, yeah. So it's gonna be, it's gonna be your the area basically where you get all the deposition coming from, kind of mountain ranges. So there is sort of a type of like alluvial soils are generally like more gravelly, sandy, but they can also have like really big clay deposits because, you know, kind of it builds up in those spots. But it tends to, they're areas of like, there's a lot of deposition. So just let me see.
Usually kind of, does that mean it's more fertile usually?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, like our most productive areas are definitely in floodplains, like the Nile Delta floodplain.
Right.
Alluvial
That's kind of what I was.
Yeah, the Oxnard Plateau. That's all floodplain Oxnard. Oh, dang. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, a floodplain is part of the process being the smaller area over which the rivers flood at a particular period of time. Whereas the alluvial plain is a larger area representing the region over which the floodplains have shifted over geological time. So that makes sense. So like a floodplain is where it would flood kind of like given current conditions, and the alluvial plain is where that's kind of, you know, because those rivers or creeks as they're draining out to the ocean meander over time. So so the alluvial plain is a larger geographic area. I didn't realize there's that distinction. Okay,
Yeah, I think
so
on the water map, there was a little toggle where you could look at the geology on it in one of the California based things. So.
Okay. Oh, okay. Let me see. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else that was kind of. No, Linda Heron was like Atascadero, so she was coastal, but I don't think she's actually.
So is it just the soil? It's just 13. It's not the local ecological survey or local ecological.
No, yeah. So it's just it, yeah.
So this isn't a real big one. It does
no
time.
No, it's not huge. Let me see with the marks on it are pretty straightforward.
Test site wise, should I choose places that I'm like really looking to start sooner rather than later, you think, or just pick them at
typically what I think is a good approach for people is, yeah, maybe one site where you're looking to start right away, but also to get like a range of areas. So if you've got one area that's kind of like up on a ridge, you know, an area that's obviously, you know, a potential garden site, and then another area maybe that's here's Victoria, you know, that you might be looking to like rehabilitate pastures. So try and get a variety so you see like what the differences are across your site. Okay. So yeah, so the soil mapping and analysis section is it's 14 marks total. There's only like 4 parts of the rubric to it, so it's pretty straightforward. Hi, Victoria.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. Happy break. Happy end of break.
Yeah, it's the end of break to you. Did you get some quality rest time in?
Oh, I caught up on other work.
Okay.
I got braces last week. So that's been interesting.
Oh,
Yeah, so. Yeah, just got some different things done. So I did a little more, I was doing a little more work with my horse because I wrapped up a training that I was doing online.
oh,
So I've got to do like they do a final graduation video. So I'm not going to make the actual cutoff for like the sprint period of the training, but we have a year to complete it, and I think I can get it done by the end of April. So that was fun.
oh, very cool. Wait,
Yeah.
what kind of horse do you have?
She's a Mustang, so she wasn't. She was captured at 3, adopted and trained at 5, and she's 16 now. So I bought her 2 years ago. So somebody else trained her, and then other people have had her and used her as a trail horse. And I'm kind of restarting her with like positive reinforcement, because I've noticed that she's kind of gotten sour on a lot of like the natural horsemanship negative pressure, which there's, I don't know if you're familiar with like the positive negative thing, but there's okay.
Yeah.
So like no judgment, but yeah, she does seem to be doing better and she's also quite mouthy and nippy.
Oh.
And I found that actually using the treats and using feed and training has made her less so.
Because she gets a little bit of a reward out of that.
Yeah, and she comes to like, she expects it for something.
Right.
So it's not just like random, and I make it very clear, like, here's a training session, you're gonna have treats, and like, okay, no treats, makes it really distinct rather than just like anybody walking by as a
right
source.
It's
But
a potential source of apples or carrots or
but it's been she's been a long time in like over the fence feeding, so there's a lot of reworking to do. So we'll see how it goes.
Very cool. Yeah. I grew up on a Tennessee Walker farm, so
fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did a lot of just a very small operation breeding of Tennessee Walkers, but it was a cool thing to grow up around for sure.
Neat. Yeah.
Horses are great.
They are.
And
so expensive.
You're lucky. It's a cool thing to grow up around. Really
Yeah.
My wife wants a horse on my site property, the 10 acres, but I've never been around horses and I don't know how to take care of them or anything, but she really likes them. And she grew up on 10 acres, not with horses, but 4-H type of stuff. But I'm a little worried about taking care of a giant animal like that I've never, a dog is the most I've ever taken care of. So our neighbors have horses. I think we'll kind of observe for a while and see how much work is involved and all that.
Yeah. People also make work for themselves, so be careful what you observe. Observe critical, especially horse. I'm actually the part of the reason I took a break from taking on the next PDC. I really want to focus on bringing in more horse people, more like either wannabe horse people or people that have horses on their property. Like one of my students in the last cohort that just closed out, she's got 2 horses and she's just been doing like the paddock and a barn thing. And we started designing her like a track system so that the horses can actually move around the whole property. And so they basically have like continual exercise. You can rehabilitate, or you just avoid altogether a lot of the problems they have with like laminitis from like standing around, not getting enough movement. But not very many people are familiar with them, and not very many people are even open to the idea. Like I've been trying to get my boarding place on board with turning her 2 acres into a track. She's got this beautiful system where they can like go up and around, and it would solve a lot of their drainage problems. They keep talking about their drainage problems, and like, you have a design problem, you don't have it, like they've located all of the horse stuff at the bottom of the property. So when it rains, it becomes a giant mud puddle. Well, then they're dealing with thrush and sore feet and like hoof walls coming apart and everything. So, and muddy feet and unhappy horses. So yeah, we're looking at doing more like track systems. So Mark, if you ever want to jam on that, I'm totally happy to like help, help work that out or think about.
Yeah, I think the plans that who I bought it from, they had planned to do that, put the horse track at the very, very bottom, or a little stable. And then it's where basically a a pond forms right now, like, so it's at the very,
Yeah.
very bottom, so that would probably have caused some big issues down the road. So you're
Could,
saying
yeah.
just you build basically a lap track, and then rather than them
Pretty-
just walk, they could just walk around as they see fit, kind of deal.
Yeah, the idea is that like one, they're really developed based on observing wild horses. And the idea is that wild horses, well, you know, they look like they're moving all over the landscape. They're actually really moving in very set circuits. So they'll go from like some early, like some morning grazing up into some higher areas where they can rest, but they've got a good vantage point, then to like some water areas, and like, you know, through different like brush, you know, depending on like nutrient content, like if your mares are lactating or whatever, you know, stage that they're in, but they're basically moving through the landscape on a very regular basis. So then in recreating that in a domestic setting, putting fences closer together, so more like 15 or 20 feet, and there's a rule of thumb, I think it's like 1.5 meters, so like 6 feet width per horse, you know, up to a limit, or like for 2 or 3 horses at a time. But pulling those fences together kind of puts a little bit of pressure on them, and so they want to keep moving. Whereas when you have them in a big rectangle, they just sort of like tend to loaf in one corner, and they don't get that like same movement going around. So and there's an Equicentral system, which is Jane and Stuart Myers. So I've actually got their course. I'm going to start planning once I finish up my final graduation video for the course I just finished. I'm going to get into that because she does more of like an ecological focus, and so like there's a focus on care of the horse, but there's also a focus on care of the land. And she and I chatted a little bit about like permaculture and regenerative design and stuff, and she's like, oh yeah, it's a really good fit, and she's like, I haven't done any formal training in it, so that's why I wanted to go through her system and see like from that other side, like from a more ecological side, what how they plan things out. There's Paddock Paradise Systems, which is Jamie Jackson, who used to be out here in not Atascadero, I think he was in Lompoc for a while. And I was so excited because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go up and try to see his system, and then I'm like, then I found out he moved to Arkansas. So there's a few, and then there's a bunch of like rehabilitation and like track livery systems, but a lot of them are over in the UK. So kind of, you know, different conditions. They're still swimming in mud. But yeah, the idea is basically that by putting out like different feeding stations, they've got 24/7, they've always got something to eat, so they don't have that like starvation physiology that sets up, like, it's because they're grazers, they're supposed to be eating all day long, so you don't wind up with like ulcers and like colic issues as much, also because they're moving all the time. So go ahead.
Oh, is there any sort of natural grazing option here in Southern California, or does it just need to be food stations out here?
It depends. I think it depends a lot on the horses, because so many horses have been laminitic, and so they basically are grass free anyway, but it's also very hard to keep grass growing, you know, through that long dry season. Wow. So I know of a few people doing holistically managed or adaptive grazing management with horses. And then you really have to hone in on the adaptive part, because most of the holistic management lens is through like getting more grass growth up, so that you can so that you're like fattening cattle or sheep or something, and that's like the opposite of what you want to do with horses. Right. So, but what you can do is you can, and this is what we tried to design with Linda's system in Atascadero, is some like little pockets where they can have like a pocket paddock where like they can graze in there for like a week or two, and then you get them out of there, or like here and there. But also focusing a lot more on browses. So like tree hays, things that they can nibble on, herb plants that the base of the plant is protected, either with like, you know, tires that are bolted together, or they're on the other side of the fence. So then the horses have like herbal things that they can nibble on. But it's not necessarily just like hay and grass all the time.
Yeah. Oh, that's really neat.
Yeah, it's cool. It's very, you know, so now I'm like, oh, like Ayurvedic medicine. I have a friend that's an Ayurvedic doctor, and she's like, you know, Ayurvedic medicine started off as like veterinary for horses. That was like how some of that like original knowledge came together was actually like looking after, like farm animals essentially, and then it became like the people's medicine.
Right.
So I was like, oh, maybe I should go look into like studying some Ayurvedic medicine. Like, there's just so many things and directions, but
That's
yeah,
really,
it's great. It's cool.
it's fun to think of horses I've had in my past with like the different like Vata, Pitta, Hatha energies too, because if you think about it, they do kind of have that, at least their movement have that element.
Yeah, we have like easy keepers and like hard keepers and all that. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, my horse is like, you can feed her rocks and sticks, and she doesn't get fat, but she'll eat anything. I mean, I've been feeding her like branches of all kinds of stuff. She loves like the sow thistle, Russian thistle, like all that tumbleweed stuff when it's green. She loves it.
So funny.
Yeah. So anyway, Mark, if you want to go down that road, I'm sorry you kind of opened up a can of worms. So I didn't know we had more horse people.
No, it's interesting to hear about, because I've been on a horse once pretty much in my life. They've always kind of scared me because of how just gigantic they are, but seem like they'd be pretty fun and also pretty useful. And
how old are your kids?
Evan's about to turn 2, and then the girl Quinn's 3 months, so still pretty young.
Oh, okay, so just little. Okay.
Yeah.
They're great for kids, but not that.
Yeah, our neighbors all around us have horses, and one of them has like just a 20-acre just giant field. Horses just run around all day, so I think we'll kind of watch from afar for a little while and just kind of get how they move and how much work and upkeep and everything.
Yeah, nice. Cool.
But we have access to a lot of horse manure, so that's nice.
A lot of horse manure is nice. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. How are you doing, Victoria, with like soil stuff and?
Pretty well. Soils is kind of one, I feel like it's just an area of interest of mine. Like I'm a little bit of a composting nerd, so. And then I took a soils course at UCLA last year. So
nice.
Some of the soil testing is kind of a review, which is nice. And I went in with a pretty good idea of I'm just farming on sand. So
so you're doing the test, but you're like, oh, I know what this is. Okay.
Yeah, like
that's interesting.
I'm pretty sure what my conclusions will be. But one thing I did kind of want to ask in terms of the, sort of taking pictures of more of like the like dexterity tests and things like that. Do you want, and like the ribbon testing? We're not getting particularly big ribbons. Do you just want pictures of sort of the texture of it?
I was going to bring up. Oh, Linda! Oh my goodness, she didn't finish. I totally missed this when I did their final marking. Some of the students, because this last cohort, they got stuck in like the massive rains. And some of them were just like, we can't do our soil test. I'm like, I totally get it. And she didn't actually go back and finish hers.
Oops.
And here's one also. Oopsie daisies. That was my bad, because I did go back through assignments and I was like, oh, you got to finish this, got to finish this. But that's fine. Sorry, I'm working on my husband's computer, and for some reason it's getting all pitchy about letting me share a screen.
Oh, interesting. Oh, is it the sometimes when you do a recent Zoom update, they make you go through and update your privacy for this happened to me all the time when I was teaching kindergarten. And then you have to go through and basically like get out. You have to basically be out of the chat and then fix your privacy settings and then come back to it. Yeah, it's weird. It's a strange little.
Okay, well.
That was kindergarten Zoom sessions. I imagine those are very productive and.
They were a ride, let me tell you. I will say that are the greatest in terms of like you tell them like they're such little sponges that, and they're so excited to learn that you're like, this is school now. And they're like, oh, okay, great. I felt for the like 5th and 6th grade teachers, they were having a tough time.
Oh, yeah. Attention spans. Oh, man.
Well, and
That's
then,
hard.
yeah, well, and those kids are so used to being around their friends and like that being a beacon of, yeah. And
moving. Yeah.
yeah, that the kindergartners were a little bit more game to play.
Mm. Right. Well, that's interesting because my 4.5-year-old, she'll sit and watch a movie. I wonder, that'd be interesting. I'd be wondering how she'd do on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I cannot share a screen right now without going through a bunch of annoying stuff. But yes, just take a picture of your ribbon test on your hand as it's breaking, whatever,
Okay.
And if you're doing it one-handed, it's a little tricky. I get that. So if you have somebody else, yeah. So really, like all of the pictures are pretty much the same. A hole with like a ruler in it to show how deep your hole is. Show the percolation test, like the water in the hole.
Right.
Something
and then
about the
empty hole an hour later.
If you want, yeah, timer, little egg timer, whatever. Yeah, I think there's 5. There's 3 spots for photos there. But you can make them smaller, add more photos. But yeah, just something that illustrates what you're doing there.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
I was like doing the ribbon testing. The last time I did ribbon testing, I was able to get like pictures of the actual like ribbon kind of hanging down.
Oh, nice.
This time it's just like wink.
Yeah. Okay.
Little action shots of dropping sand.
I don't know if you could upload a GIF of your ribbon test breaking, but I think that's going above and beyond.
A boomerang.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It just keeps breaking. Yeah. Whatever works there.
Okay.
Have you started on that section at all?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm now at the 3-day waiting period for my jar tests.
Gotcha. Okay.
And yeah, and I think I have all of my pictures. I just wanted to double check that the ribbon pictures were kind of
sure. Yep. Yeah. Let me see what's in the examples. Oh yeah, so yeah, people finish. It's funny they look like little globs of.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because it's like there's a tiny bit of clay in the soil so that like you can get it into a shape, but it's not going to stay in that shape with any pressure whatsoever. So felt like it was misleading to get it into the shape and then just like lay it out.
It's a little different,
but I don't know. Could do a side by side.
And this is still like this client site, right?
Yes.
How is that going? Like getting him kind of like back into reality.
It's good. I mean, he's a dreamer. He's a bit of a dreamer. So I think he has some, big ideas on what things he wants, but then also doesn't really want to sacrifice much to get those big things. So but I also think that he's learning too, and it's just more it's just lots of conversations and and the plan has always been to do it in little batches and stages anyway. It's not like we're doing a huge revamp of the property in a matter of a couple of months. So yeah, but he's great. He's learning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
The big thing right now is gutters on the roof. We're having multiple conversations. He really doesn't like the aesthetics of gutters, but there's no other way. Oh. Yeah, I know. He's got these Spanish tile, and he's like gutters will make the house look undesirable, hard to resell. And I was like, I actually think if you add some tanks, it's going to be much easier to sell. Especially this.
these times for sure.
Yeah, I think it's gonna add some value, but we'll see. The last time we spoke, he seemed to be more convinced, so we can keep just, he likes seeing the
Yeah,
numbers.
I'm trying to think of
Yep.
ways, I mean, yeah, if you
Gutters
can,
can be
like,
taken down pretty easily if he really thinks they
that's also true, yeah.
sold.
I'm trying to remember, oh, I know, it was kind of a different system. We had friends that we helped build a, it was a roof over the deck. But it was a single story house. And so if we built a roof over the deck, it was either gonna go flat out and be ugly. Or you couldn't really come down any further. So what they ended up doing was doing this like peaked roof that came actually up off the house. So it was like the top of the deck roof was like almost as high as the roof on the house. And then so it angled back. We did like the corrugated plastic. It actually looked really, it came out looking really nice. But then it funnels down to the roof line, and we hung the gutters through a set of soffits that they painted to match the color of the deck. So it looks really cool. Like the gutters aren't totally hidden,
Yeah,
but they're definitely like a part of, like they definitely like visually integrate with the roof really well.
yeah,
So there's different things. I mean, and our buddy like cut notches into every like soffit extension so that it would actually, you made these like hangers
yeah.
for the for the gutter to go along. No, he cut end brackets, and then he got like metal brackets to hang, and then painted all those so they match. So it looks really nice.
Yeah.
But
One question I did have, and a kind of a huge point of concern for Ben is that he's got this beautiful bougainvillea that grows, up in kind of that classic Spanish style, that grows up and over his roof, or like around the roof, and he really, really doesn't want to get rid of that, but it sits right where a gutter would go.
yeah.
Is there any way around that, or just like other than not putting a gutter in that section of roof?
If you could put some sort of a frame over, for a frame for it to climb over the gutter.
Yeah, so that's kind of sort of out and away.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of that
Yeah,
would do that, because you wouldn't want that like crawling down into the gutters,
right.
like
Well,
climbing.
and not to
climbing
mention,
in.
just like there's so much debris from bougainvillea plants.
Yeah.
I mean, you can cover it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I might look on like House or something, like to see if there's any design ideas that somebody's come up with, but that would be what. The other thing that we did with our house is we hung chain from like metal hooks along the soffits, and then so we trained things. So we've had like chayote, which wasn't great because it it dies back and looks really ugly. So we've mostly done like passion fruit. Passion fruit's the big one, actually. We'll just stick with passion fruit. So we train the passion fruit to grow with the main vine along the top, and then train the cords to grow down.
Oh,
You
smart.
can do the other way, of course, like train along the bottom and then train them to go up, but then they travel up the chain.
Yeah.
And that works pretty well without having to have like a single big like metal frame or anything. And it's really, if we ever want to take it down, you just like unhook a couple pieces of chain and the whole thing comes. So it works well. It doesn't go up over the roof.
Yeah.
And it takes some maintenance like to prune it so it doesn't climb into the gutters or like climb into the walls or anything. But,
Right. Well, and I imagine with passion fruit too, you have to really stay on.
Stay on it, But I mean, it's the coolest thing. It's like it's very true, like what Jeff Lawton said about danger of falling fruit. I mean, when the passion fruit are ripe, it's just like they're dropping in your head. They're constant. So, which is really fun. They bounce down the roof. Oh, there's another passion fruit on the patio. But
someone runs out and gets it. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, there's different ways around it if it's really. And then the other thing with with having something something planted, something green on the side of the house. Is that on the south facing side?
It's actually on the east facing side. It
Oh,
gets,
interesting. Okay.
yeah, it
More
gets
interesting.
southern, it gets some southern sun because there's not a lot
Okay.
like walking from the south, but it's sort of the
Yeah.
south sun.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm having a south facing green wall, major cooling effect, which is really nice. So I'm just scrolling here to find pictures of the house again.
Yeah, I think there's some pictures of the bougainvillea when I was taking in my zone photos. You can see it's in the front yard.
Not seeing.
Might be.
Yeah, it's not in current zones, not microclimates.
It's
Oh, early on. Here's
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I see. And like it's really, wow, it's really sticking out from the house. Okay. Does it arch over that little back pathway? Okay. Oh yeah, I can see why I wouldn't want that.
And
oh, you could totally hide gutters in that.
You think so? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was, I mean, and that's a huge section of the roof too. So to miss out on all of the rainwater that would come off of that would be a real shame.
And I absolutely agree with you on adding value to the house.
Yeah.
Especially if you're gonna put in all these gardens and stuff, like,
Right.
you know, if you've got raised beds and like, why would you not have some sort of water catchment?
Right.
It seems crazy. I mean, it could look really cool. You could paint it like the same green as that. Is there a lattice? Yeah.
Yeah.
Painted the same green. Yeah.
Yeah, and that green is sort of a theme throughout the
Yeah.
exterior of the house. So and that's exactly what I told him too. It doesn't have to be, you know, white or silver, or it can be.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you can probably even order them in that color potentially. But
Great.
neat.
I'll tell him you approve.
yeah. Well, I was actually I've mapped you guys. You guys are less than an hour away. So I know. I'm like, I just get everybody on a map and do like a road trip tour.
Oh, that'd be cool. That'd be so
It'll
cool.
be fun. And so you live close by though, right?
Yeah, so I'm just in mid city. So I'm on the 10 freeway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm just south. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. And then Mark, you're up by Redlands, right? Yeah, you kind of fun.
Yeah, next city over from Redlands.
Yeah. Okay.
I spent a lot of, I haven't told you this yet, Mark, but I spent a lot of time in Redlands because I used to be really involved in their opera program out there.
Oh, really? Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a great town. I really like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful buildings.
Born and raised here, so I judge every town I go to like, it's kind of like Redlands.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna be kind of weird moving to, even though it's only the city over, but it's just vastly different, more rural, you know, area, Ukaipa. It's gonna be a change, but we'll kind of be isolated a little bit at 10 acres probably. So
Which direction did you say?
Ukaipa's going towards Palm Springs, so a little bit more east.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did just hear they're trying to build the giant track homes right where we bought our property. They're like less than a mile away, like kind of on the hillside. They want to put in, it's zoned 1 acre per parcel, but they will want to do like 8 per acre and just change the whole thing and so I think they need a certain amount of housing to get subsidy from California. So they're just trying to build a bunch of smaller houses. Yes. So people are protesting, but if it's a lot of money, I'm sure they'll find a way to pass it anyway. Bummer.
That's such a bummer because you can actually do something with like at least a 1/4 acre, but yeah, that like 1/8 of an acre is just really, there's not much you can. I mean, Victoria, that's what your client's working on, right?
You can try. We can try.
You can try. I mean, you can do as much
you
as you can, but yeah, it's hard to. I'd so much rather see like smaller houses with, you know, and like some shared area and that, like we can design better than this, like for the whole, like the whole housing area, but whole community, but no, we're not doing it yet.
Yeah, that's funny. I've taken this class now, like when I'm on my walks with my kid, that's all I see, just in people's yards, just wasted opportunity.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, you can't unsee it once you start seeing it. It's like, you know, you see where the sun falls and just different opportunities everywhere. But
Yeah, I was kind of wondering, and then I did a little research, and I guess people are doing it, but I was wondering like why there weren't or why I hadn't seen permaculture, just like landscapers who will do your general mow, blow and go type stuff, but also, you know, cultivate some fruit for you. And then like you could start a co-op within your own, you know, if you have 100-person client base and everybody had a bunch of fruit trees, you could probably at least pay for people's fruit needs and stuff.
well, I mean, I will say, I think part of it is that a lot of times the people that get drawn to permaculture either don't have an interest in building the business skills, and then they do, you know, but there are actually, I mean, there's more, I see more and more businesses cropping up, and the people that are actually like have like the landscape, like the install skills are swamped. Like they stay full really easily.
That's
I think, you know, what's that?
that's my goal. That's what I'm trying to do, is basically like
Yeah.
permaculture food gardens for like inner
Residential.
city and residential, exactly, and then having a maintenance component built into it.
Mhm,
I-
mhm. I think it's great, and I
Yeah,
think
we
the
say,
maintenance
like-
is really important.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mark. Go ahead.
Like some of my neighbors pay like I pay $150 a month for my guy. He comes every 2 weeks, and it's just lawn maintenance basically. And some of my neighbors, like one of my neighbors pays $800. He's got a really manicured lawn, but you know, people spend so much on that. So if you figure the average value is like 200 or 250,
Yeah,
I don't know, you could do a lot, I think.
yeah. Yeah, I think it gets daunting because you get into like more, I think you get into more liability and like errors of omission insurance stuff, because they're more complex systems. You're not just like mow and blow.
Yeah.
And you're trying to build like a whole system, like, you know, you're learning like rainwater harvesting and like native plant propagation, like it's such a big thing. And I think it's good to get like, you know, get like some ARCSA training, like the rain, what is ARCSA? It's like American Rainwater Capture Organization. So, yeah, rainwater harvesting accreditation courses. It's just rainharvest.com. I think that's really useful, getting some like gray water training, so that, you know, you go in knowing what you're doing. You're not going to like mess up somebody's, you know, septic field, you know, leach field or whatever, like their plumbing. And some of it is just not permitted. And so knowing what you do need a permit for and what, you know, what your local regulations are, it's more complicated than just having like a simple landscaping company. But I think there's a huge value in it too. And I've been playing with this, you know, like I've been doing one-on-one consulting for about 10 years, and like I don't advertise, and like I get people like word of mouth, and I really don't keep more than like one client going at a time, just because like I just have so many things going on, and then our own system. But you know, I've been thinking, it's always been like, well, how much do you charge, right? It's like most of the people that I consider like colleagues or mentors are a minimum, like I know Javin and Neil Bertrand are both like minimum $300 an hour. And I'm about half that. Like I'm definitely not charging that much. And it's probably why it's been hard for me to like keep a sustainable business, but it's also like, that's just what's felt right for me for where I'm at. But I got thinking about it. I'm like, you know, for anyone to charge, like to pay me to essentially go through a permaculture design course process with them, you know, go through all of these layers of like design and like understanding their site, and then plus the training, you know, that I took over the last 10 years, you know, plus my ecology degrees and everything, like my farming background and all of that experience before that. Why would I charge anyone less than the cost of at least a very good permaculture design course. I'm like, well, OSU is like what, like 12 to 1500. Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? Like, you know, you start to like look at the numbers this way, and then
Especially
put it out to-
walking them through it one-on-one, right? It's like privatized. Anything.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna do another one-on-one consult for less than like maybe $3,000 for like a city site. Like, that seems very bearable,
for you.
because it's a lot of work if you do it right. And you know, for a long time I was like, oh, I can't imagine like charging someone that much money. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Like, that's, you know, now, especially having a kid, it's like, oh, that's money, that's like time away from my family so that I can design your family system. And people are like, oh, well, I can learn that all for free on YouTube. You go learn it for free on YouTube then. You go work that out.
You go ahead and get through all of the.
Yeah, or take a
Spend your
permaculture
capital
design
or
course.
spend, you know, 300
Spend your
hours.
money. Yeah. So it's an interesting, like, as a business thing, because I see a lot, I've seen a lot of pushback against like permaculture consultants, all like they're just out there, you know, making, you know, charging people for all this information that's available for free. And it's like, time is money. Time is not money, but time, it's either, you spend your time capital or you spend your financial capital.
Right. And also,
I'd
how
rather
many,
spend my financial than my time.
Right.
how many
Right, yeah.
skills are out there that we, you know, you could learn on your own. That,
Sure.
but you know, I can learn plumbing on my own. I can learn, you know, like maybe you can do it on your own, but do you really want to spend that time? Do you want to spend that, you know, is that knowledge you really want to maintain and keep up?
Yeah, and if you learn from someone that's been doing it for 10 or 20 or 30 years, you don't have to spend 10 or 20 or 30 years, you know, you get to kickstart that level.
That's why I'm taking this class. I mean, I've watched, you know, hundreds of hours of permaculture stuff and read a bunch of books, but I've never, you know, done anything like this. And I'm learning the course with the slides and everything. Like, I'm learning so much more than I did just passively kind of watching YouTube at night.
Yeah. Well, and having it on your own site makes such a big difference too, that context.
Well, actually, like doing the projects versus just reading a book about other people's projects is great, but unless you actually do it, it's just sort of wasted knowledge. It's not wisdom yet, more just book smarts.
Yeah.
I think just charge more. It's one thing that we really didn't want to do in our business. I own a gym with a friend, and we were pretty but we just basically doubled our prices because we do like more one-on-one consulting for a big box gym. And so it's a lot of time just for us to just calculate all this stuff and spend one-on-one time. And we just basically like doubled our prices, and people were more happy to pay because they thought they're getting value out of it, I think.
Yeah, and they're more committed, and it's like, oh, and you get different people too, right? Like you get That's what I've seen, and I've also experienced. Like when I've had to really like scramble to pay for something, it's so much harder for me to put the mental energy into actually doing the thing. Whereas like, you know, which is kind of all this like play off, like, oh, if you double your prices, but then you get people that are like, oh, okay, I can afford that much, and they can usually afford the time to actually commit to it and do it. So there's all different situations. Victoria, you were one that was interested in like a permaculture as a business chat, right? Okay. I'm trying to see when that could fit in. You know, obviously it'll be in the next like few weeks. Also, not having that other cohort, I mean, it'll probably be on an alternate Monday, so it'll be like on an assignment due Monday, is what I was thinking.
That's totally fine.
Okay, I also opened up to them, I offered, I haven't totally worked out the details of the logistics, but doing like, this is again, I don't know what kind of a price tag to put on it, but I was thinking like $20-30 a month, sort of like basically an ongoing office hour. But it would only be for students that have gone through with me. So I know their projects going in, and like I might add, you know, somebody else that was in like, you know, the West, you know, whatever, our similar climate. If I knew they'd gone through the course and somebody else, whatever, like there might be extent. I'm not going to say never, but it would basically just be for my students, so I was already familiar with the projects as like an ongoing support. And when I got the fee, some people are really interested in that, so I think I've got 2 or 3 people that are like, oh yeah, I'd sign up. But more like an opportunity for a consult like a year from now or something. So I don't know if those are other things that I'm kind of percolating, like what the logistics of that would look like. So
yeah, that's a
those
really
would be
cool
options.
idea, because one of the things I was sort of thinking about is, you know, taking this template forward and you know, gathering, because I've got a couple of potential clients sort of lined up, but we're still sort of initial phases of talking through things. And so my plan is to take the template that we have for this course and use that as a starting point for new projects going forward. And so even just like a consult here and there to like, hey, could you basically look through this proposal that I've come up with and tell me if there are any things that need a little bit more finessing, or anything you would add, or anything you wouldn't put in, or whatever. That would be hugely helpful too, because just having a set of eyes on that is who knows, you know.
No, that would be absolutely, I'd be totally happy to do that. Just so when you're ready, just let me know that, because that's an easy thing to do. Like we can set up like a 60 or 90-minute Zoom call.
Yeah.
And if you send it to me like a few days ahead, I can take a look at it, and then you can get like some written feedback and like some ideas for whatever, if there's stuff to change, and we can talk it through. It's just like sometimes I'm a little titchy about like ongoing things, like the kind of the membership. I've actually just joined a program to help build like a membership model when you don't want to do a membership. So I'm really curious to see, like, kind of go through the course and find out like what would actually work, just because like I know for me, like things kind of seem to change so much that it's like, oh, I thought 6 months ago this was going to be a great idea. But
and then it becomes
those like kind of one-off consults are super easy, and so just let me know if you want to pull the trigger on that.
Okay, great. Yeah. Because one of the things I especially want to do is I just want to, like, the template is so great for this class, and I think you really learn the material. But in terms of getting it to a client, I do think that there might be some things that are a little bit, and maybe repetition is good, but just a little bit. So maybe just like tightening it a little bit for a client to actually read through, as opposed to like, maybe it's just me, but I don't know that I need all of the SWOT analysis.
No, and actually what you'll find as you get towards the end of the course, and you want to keep this in mind, because I keep getting reminded every time we get to the end of the program, and I wish I could share a screen right now. But when you get to the end, the last section is the concept plan. And in my mind, that's really that would be like the bones of what you put forward to a client, and you can pull pieces, and a big part of the concept plan is pulling pieces from the rest of the program. So it's almost a freebie of like, oh, I've already done this map, I can just plug it in. But that's actually what you would present to a client. And the background is sort of like, you can apply those as like appendices, or like, hey, background work, and it's sort of like building the concept plan along the way.
Yeah.
But
great.
That's what I would keep in mind, is just looking at that, like, okay, what just goes into the concept plan to lay it out? If they want more details, if they want the details of the soil test, then it can be like Appendix 8 or
Brilliant.
So,
Mark, I realized I sort of bogarted the conversation on the soils this week. Did you have any questions about soils, or?
Oh, we talked a little bit.
You did. Okay.
Yeah.
Just
I
wanted to
haven't started yet, so
there.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna collect my soil samples today if it's not raining. And
we were just talking about that before you got here, Victoria, about getting the soil samples early on, because some of them have taken a long time to percolate out. So
yeah.
Oh, no, you mentioned earlier, like if we need a day or something. I know this assignments are due on Monday, but I'm traveling back from up north. We're going up for Easter and to see a new nephew.
So
is it possible to maybe grade on Tuesday or? Totally.
I'll actually send an email about that, because it's Easter Monday. So our daughter does not have preschool. She doesn't have preschool this week. She didn't have preschool last week because of norovirus.
Oh, no.
So yeah, I'll probably actually wind up grading Wednesday because my husband and I alternate days. So it'll probably actually be Wednesday. So
And have you started on the last assignment yet? Or I'm wondering, because I don't think I've gotten a grade for the last assignment that was due.
for lesson 5.
Yeah. Unless it just hasn't put it, maybe.
Can I check that? Because I'm not on my computer, so I don't have the right bookmarks, but can I double check that for you? and get back to you?
No problem, no
okay.
rush. I was wondering if
Okay.
just because of where the breaks fell, you were waiting until after the break, but I also turned mine in super early, so it's also possible that I just got.
Yeah, you and another student actually, and I actually was like, I was hoping to get those marked kind of like within a day or two of you guys having them in, and then norovirus, and then
No worries.
so
no
I was kind of like, oh, I'll just do it on the regular day. Yeah, but no, I'll get those marked. So yeah, I did see that you handed them in early. So
Great. No problem. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't didn't get buried.
nope. Okay. No, but it's always good to like, yeah, send me a little something just in case. So yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for showing up.
Thanks for the time.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I'll let you know. I'm keeping in mind all that, like, you know, kind of the permaculture business conversation, and I might do I was telling Mark I might do an extra call. Oh, because the Easter Monday, I'll probably throw in an extra call because I usually send out a reminder about this office hour. And I forgot to do that. So I think probably most people just missed it, but.
Well, we appreciated the
Anyway.
time. This was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's always nice to chat. So,
All right. Have a good one.
All right. See you guys.
okay, happy Easter. Bye.
Easter, bye.